Hello and welcome back to All for United. It's Ben here with a weekend review. On this show, we talk about everything, including and not including Manchester United over the weekend. We've got a packed weekend of Premier League action to go through, including the hottest talking point right now. The El Sacchio, by name and nature, has lived up to its billing. We'll talk about the manager that has just lost his job in just a moment's time. Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United. Happy Halloween for yesterday, everyone. Hope you had a wicked weekend, and what a spectacular weekend of Premier League football we had. A lot of big decisions. We've got to chat about VAR and red cards. We've got to talk about Chelsea, Brighton, Liverpool. But let's start, shall we, Graham? And by the way, thank you for joining me, Graham Bailey, as ever. I love chatting to Graham. He doesn't sit on the fence. We spoke last week, done a show on Ollie, and how he's done. I mean, I still don't think overall that the bigger picture has changed here, but let's start with United 3, Spurs 0. And I think Manchester United faced a side in bigger disarray than themselves on Saturday, didn't they, Graham?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here again. And yeah, you can have to back on it. You can only beat what's put in front of you, Ben, can't you? Obviously, it was the team there to be beaten. You know, to get the performance out of Tottenham that they put across was almost an achievement from Nuno. You know, Harry Kane was never in the game. You've got Son. It's such a talented team there in a lot of respect. And yeah, it was really poor. It was, it really was bad. But so I said that United did what they needed to do. Ronaldo looked really sharp, which you can rely on these good players. If you do, as we said on last week's show, Ben, if you fill the team full of good players, they are going to win some games. There's no getting around this. We're not talking about Norwich City here. It's, you got a bunch of world class players that will win games. It has lifted a little bit of pressure off Ollie. I think a lot of us thought they might get a result there, but yeah, some big games coming, and obviously Atalanta in midweek, followed by City. We're probably going to be talking about Ollie again in a few weeks' time, which seems to be the nature of his 3 years in charge. And it's literally a roller coaster ride for him in the managerial seat. He's been up and down, but yeah, fair play to him. He won the game, and obviously we're talking more about Tottenham at the moment because they do look well. I confirm they are talking to Antonio Conte and his people, and they are confident that he will be the next manager through. Which, if they do get him, will be a very impressive appointment. I'm not sure it's a very similar to if he went in at United. It'll probably be a short-term fix, but it could be a very, very impressive one.
I'll ask you, before we go into the manager stuff, one thing that just I couldn't click in my head to do with Spurs on Saturday was Harry Kane. I've never, don't get me wrong, we've seen players that are a shadow of themselves on a number of different times because of a number of different situations when they play for their clubs, and maybe something doesn't go for them. But this looks nothing like Harry Kane. The way he carries himself, his confidence, his movement, his work ethic. This isn't Harry. What's happened, Graham? What's happened to Harry Kane?
Yeah, I had to watch the highlights, Ben, because I was at the Newcastle game covering their matchup with Chelsea. But in the highlights, yeah, you could see he's just not. I don't think he's disinterested, but it really is strange. I can't understand it because I thought Nuno, although not a wonderful appointment, I must admit, I thought his style of play would be quite well suited to that forward line. What he did at Wolves with Traore and Jota supplying Jimenez, you'd have thought he would have adopted that similar approach to Tottenham, where you may have Lucas and Son supplying Harry Kane. So you thought it's on some level it might have worked out quite well for him, but no, it's obviously he's a player down. He is down on confidence. He missed out on the summer move that he was desperate for. Yeah, he needs someone to get him going. And Conte, he does like the big striker. We saw that with Lukaku at Inter. So he probably will be looking forward to Conte coming in, but he needs to improve. There's no doubt he's going to go to the World Cup, etc. But yeah, as you say, Ben, he's a shadow of his former self, and he's not one not to try. But yeah, it's a strange one. But I think that's what led to Nuno sacking. That whole Spurs team just looked. I wouldn't say they didn't look as disorganised as United did against Liverpool, but they just looked disheartened, and they clearly weren't playing for him.
Am I wrong in saying this, Graham? And you might agree or disagree, but if I'm Harry Kane, step up. You've got to step. You're the captain of that football club. That football club's also made you. Step up, because right now you're not stepping up. You're not being counted. Doesn't matter what your differences are. If I'm sat watching this as Manchester City, yeah, there's a player there. I don't want to sign this Harry Kane. I don't go and break the bank for him in the summer. If you really want to move, you've got to do better. You've got to do more. Would City or any other club out there right now be taking a risk in signing Harry Kane?
It depends who it was. I still could see him being one of Newcastle's big signings in 2022. But they can afford to take these gambles and risks. I don't think anyone who is banking on Kane at the moment to be their top level signing, which I don't think anyone is at the moment, because no, he's not available, and that's just how it is. But Harry Kane is a selling point for these managers coming in. Selling Tottenham to Antonio Conte, Harry Kane will be the first one of the names that comes up in conversation. You do have a world class striker there. Obviously, it isn't happening for him at the moment, and yeah, it can be if he doesn't like the way Nuno's playing. Yeah, but as you say, Ben, he does have to step up. He has to show himself as that world class talent. But yeah, they just aren't playing to him though, are they? He's not missing a lot of chances. They're not creating a lot. So I'll give Harry Kane the benefit of the doubt here, because I just don't know what Nuno was doing at times in the last week or so, last few months, I should say. They just weren't creating, and I don't think he's missed that many chances particularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hardly getting the chances, is he? To be fair,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even Son was snapping at his own heels. He literally had a few shots on goal, and he was nowhere near. Maybe should have scored that goal as well. That opportunity in the first 20 minutes the other day, but yeah, skied it. Brown Knight says all I can see is a Jose 2.0. Why would a club that sacked Jose 7 months ago appoint Conte, who has a similar style of play? But they're better off biting their tongue and re-signing Poch. To be honest, I put this online the other day, and let's talk about the managerial situation. Earlier. A lot of people going on about how this appointment of Conte, specifically the sacking of Nuno, not the appointment of Conte, is a club showing ambition, the club being proactive. This is at the moment a badly run club in disarray that have made so many bad decisions over the past 4 years. And that first bad decision they made, people say was sacking Poch. It wasn't. It was the summer before when they didn't back him. Didn't back him at all. Didn't give him any of the players he wanted. Didn't move on the players that he didn't want. They put player power first in front of a manager who gave them a glimmer of hope. Let's not forget who Spurs are, where Spurs were in 10 years ago, 7 years ago, before Poch went in and really revamped the club. This board, the chance weren't we want Nuno out of the board. The chance where we want Levy out. Those were the chance. This is again a club, and it's not similar to Manchester United in terms of that. There's a bigger picture than just the manager at play here. It's also the owners, the board, the way the club's set up to run. Will Conte suit that club? Maybe, Maybe they need to sniff success. Us as United fans, we're different. We've tasted success. Maybe they need to sniff success. So they need a Conte. But they had that with Jose, and they ended it before he even got an opportunity to win that trophy. So where's the logic behind that? Graham, we spoke about Oli going, Conte being the man for United. Here's the turn of events. Looks like Conte's going to be the man for Spurs. I mean, I know this is a bit of a loaded question, but what does that mean for Manchester United? What does that mean for the rest of the Premier League if Conte gets hold of this Spurs side?
Yeah, it's another danger for United. We've already discussed. We know Newcastle nowhere near there, but in 18 months' time, Newcastle could very well be snapping at the heels of the top 6, top 8. So very much United territory as it stands. And Tottenham, if Conte comes in and gets this right, which there's a fair chance, there's going to be a fair chance there's going to be a big improvement here. Then again, they're going to be looking to be pushing top 6, top 8. So another team in United's ballpark, should we say, very much so. The more United are more top 6 than they are top 3 at the minute, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So yeah, you're quite right, Ben. It's going to be quite a stacked, and top 8 of the Premier League very soon. United have to be wary of that. I see that comment that came in about not Conte and Santa Pochettino. That could have been someone talking about the United situation, because I still think, United were looking at their options, and Pochettino still has a lot of fans at United. And for me, I still think that's the overall best solution here. I know a lot of people saying, well, what do we do without Ole? And I still go back to that situation that I think Pochettino is still the one for United. And will that mean that Ole gets to the end of the season? Quite possibly, because it's going to be. But it's not harmonious, as we said at PSG. I think Tottenham fans, given the choice, would rather have Pochettino than Conte, and I think United fans, it's a very similar situation, Ben, isn't it? I think United fans would rather that as well, primarily. And there's quite a few who would like Conte, because especially the ones who remember the success under Ferguson, they want to be challenging at the top end for these now. So it's a real fascinating. I think Tottenham and United are very similar in their pedigrees and the way they play, in the counter attack and bringing youngsters through. The two very similar clubs in some ways. But yeah, I think it'd be a major coup for Tottenham to get Conte. I do. But Fabio Paratici, their managing director, he is close to him, having worked at Juventus, and he's obviously, we believe that he's told Daniel Levy that he can get him in. He's going to do that. So yeah, I think you're right, Ben. I think it is something United as a club need to be keeping an eye on, because they're one of the clubs who should be challenging top 4, top 6, and they're not at the moment. Do they have the players in the squad to do it? I don't think they're a million miles off. Hey, if you get Son and Kane clicking, hey, you're going to win more games than you lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree with you. And let's face it, although United, especially, actually all 3 goals, to be fair, were fantastic goals from United. It was good attacking play, especially Ronaldo's goal. Mm-hmm. It's a defence that's also in disarray, and they maybe need a defensive manager. And this is where football irks me a bit here, Graham. And I don't know if you would agree with this. You might completely disagree, actually. Some people look at counter-attacking football or certain formations to be extremely defensive, whereas actually, no, if you need to soak up pressure and have 7 defensive players on the pitch to get the best out of your 4 forward and front-thinking players who are always going to be going for that goal, and so be it. You're going to score goals, especially if you've got players like Ronaldo, Bruno, Cavani, Rashford in your front line. Put 7 defensive players behind them. If that's what keeps you the clean sheet and allows them to have the platform to go out there, express themselves and score the goals, that's not defensive football. It's getting the best out of your team, Graham. And that's all what any fan wants, surely, all that any club wants.
Yeah, I'm old-fashioned, Ben. It's a results business for me.
Yeah.
We, on my show, didn't say Middlesbrough program for our Calvin Cup final, our only major success. We were a brilliant team to watch under Steve McLaren, but who cares? It's all about success. It's all about silverware, and people get hung up. I watched Chelsea at Newcastle on Saturday, and that first half was atrocious. It was dreadful. It was Chelsea went there. They knew what they were doing. They were never going to concede a goal. But then they absolutely blew Newcastle apart. Jorginho was amazing. But football wasn't great, but it was counter-attack, it was pushing, it was pressing. And they're the champions of Europe playing that way. Yes, sometimes the tiki-taka stuff is great to watch, but didn't do much at the weekend, did it? And look at Chelsea. And that Chelsea have learned what a brilliant Thomas Tuchel's becoming one of my favourite managers. He's so pragmatic. But then again, he's not miserable with it. He reminds me of Jose Junior's first spell at Chelsea. He's up on the sidelines. He's a character. He gets involved, and he just wants a victory. After that defeat they had to City, he's not reinvented it, but he's almost said to Chelsea, "We are not losing another game this calendar year," and you can't see them losing again this calendar year. And he did that, missing quite a few star players on Saturday as well. And I think, this obsession that I think it's hard for United, because you see Liverpool and City, the 2 main rivals in the Northwest, playing the way they are. And I think that's sort of what's catching Solskjaer out, Ben, a little bit. It's, what's important here? Do I need to play Man City and Liverpool off a park? No, you don't. You just need to perform against them. You need to win silverware against them. And I think he's getting caught in between a rock and a hard place, where he's thinking, right, now's the time for me to start pressing. Even though he hasn't got the players, even though he himself, I don't think, knows how to do it. and the players don't trust him. Clearly, I think that's one of the major issues behind Ollie here, Ben. At the minute, I think he thinks. I don't know whether he thinks his team is better than what they are, or that he's a better manager than what he is. So it's an interesting point that about the football. I think it's one which could do for Ollie in the end, to be honest.
It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Like we mentioned last week, this formation that he played against Spurs is what he won a lot of games with against the big sides when he first came into the job. Why would you stray away from that? Why would you go toe to toe with a Guardiola City, with a Klopp Liverpool? And by the way, what you said on Tuchel was really, really spot on. I said this the other week to one of my mates. He's got the best bits of early Jose, but also the best bits of Klopp in him as well. And he's just got that aura about him. He's a lovely manager. And I mentioned this to a Chelsea fan. I said, if you back him, he's your manager for 10 years. And everyone goes on about how Chelsea are this keep rolling over manager and manager type of club. Well, no, maybe they were just waiting for that reset with Lampard and now for Tuchel to take the ball by the horn, so to speak, because he is a manager that is good with his money, is a manager that's good at setting up size. He can also do what he needs to do with the club as it is and make the fundamental changes. And I completely agree with you. Chelsea are one of the most solid units in Europe right now, maybe the most solid in terms of you can't see them losing a game week to week.
Oh yeah, that defense is amazing. Rudiger on Saturday didn't have to break sweat. Mendy didn't really touch the ball at all. But Jorginho, he was exceptional on Saturday. He absolutely ran the game. He was, and it's one where you've got holding midfield. Conte and Jorginho on Saturday were anything but holding midfielders. Yeah. Jorginho especially, he was dictating play like he was Andrea Pirlo on Saturday. He was amazing, fantastic. And that's the difference between having these world-class holding midfielders as opposed to what United have, where they have only got a couple of gears. Jorginho's got 5 or 6, where he can become that different type of play. He can become that holder. He can hold against Liverpool if you need him to, but then he becomes that playmaker when you don't. And I sort of thinking, Pogba could do that role quite easily, as we said before. I think he's more than capable of doing that. But yeah, we'll say. But I say it was an interesting weekend for Chelsea going clear, and also I think one of the biggest performances of the weekend was another Chelsea player who was actually playing at Liverpool, Conor Gallagher. What a player this guy is.
Can we come back? Palace against City.
Yeah, Palace, yeah. Sorry,
Let's come back to that quickly because I just want to poke you for a bit more news from you. Just on Chelsea Newcastle. Let's move on to that. Obviously, Chelsea won 3-0. We've spoken there, handsomely about Chelsea. Newcastle. Obviously, it doesn't look like the caretaker bounce is happening, so to speak, for Graham. But there's some rumours online today. A German journalist, Patrick Berger, I believe is his name, is fantastic. He first broke the Sancho news. He's a fantastic journalist. He's saying Unai Emery, the favourite now for the Newcastle job, and there are talks progressing as we speak for that to happen imminently. I know you're up there. You obviously you love his Middlesbrough, but you know a lot when it comes to Newcastle. Could we be seeing Emery and Conte coming in before the international break or by the international break?
You certainly wouldn't rule it out. From what we're hearing on Saturday, there is Newcastle think it'll be the international break when they appoint, but it could happen any time before then. They had narrowed it down to Eddie Howe, Daniel Fonseca and Lucien Favre. We still haven't heard that any of them failed. They're all impressed, but we've heard other names are being strongly linked. Over the weekend, it was confirmed that Leandro Yardim, the former Monaco boss, was also in their thinking. He's already in Saudi Arabia, so people within PIF know him very well. He would be a very clever fit for them. He's got a terrific CV, as has Unai Emery. I think if you look at Fonseca, Emery, Yardim, all quite similar CVs. They performed at a very high level. The only issue I have with Emery and Newcastle is the style of play. Again, Newcastle fans, they don't particularly like the negative play, and the 3 shortlisted on how Favre and Fonseca aren't negative managers. Yardim isn't a negative manager, but Emery, he's a big name. He's in the Champions League with Villarreal. You would think that has he taken Villarreal as far as it could go? Quite possibly, but I'm not sure. I think Newcastle fans would. It's a tough. I think Newcastle fans now would take him in 18 months. Will they? But hey, they're sort of club with the money they've got. They can change. They'll be able to change managers that will anyway. They don't have to worry about paying people off. So it's an interesting one. He is. he could come in and make a big changes. This Newcastle team I saw on Saturday were woeful, way off the pace, and Graham Jones tried to set them up to defend it. I think he's got his starting 11 completely wrong. Ryan Fraser in midfield, Sean Longstaff, both, and Hayden. The three of them were appalling. Absolutely appalling. And they had Joe Willock on the bench because it's all very well going three in midfield, but if those three, they just weren't on it. They were just there filling space in the pitch, really. But that sums up where the squad is. This squad could go down, and they do need this big manager to come in with at least 3 or 4, even 5 players in January, which we do know. So yeah, Ben, the appointment for Newcastle could happen in 24 hours. It could happen in the national break. By the end of the national break, we will know who Newcastle's manager is. It could come before, but we'll have to see, because they are going to Brighton. They've got another games coming up where they could get something. But yeah, I think Emery, Yardim, Fonseca, Favre, it'll probably be one of those who just get the job. It's going to be someone high profile-ish, maybe not the top tier that Conte is in, but it's going to be a big name.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see, so to speak, where they go. It's sort of going to be like City's Mark Hughes in some ways, to sort of set up for the next manager, but a good bit of experience, someone who knows how to build a side and a hard-working side as well for the town to fall in love with. But interesting result there. Throughout, I say interesting. You probably expect Chelsea to win it, but as you said, it was a bit of a game for the first half, more because of the way that Chelsea played than so to speak, Newcastle putting up a fight.
Oh yeah, Newcastle wouldn't have scored if we'd still been there now, It was on Chelsea, and they knew they were going to get the chances. But hugely impressive, as I say.
Just a couple of games to skim over. Southampton getting a win away to Watford, which is a great 3 points there for Hasenhüttl. Also massive 3 points for Bielsa. Leeds and Norwich, maybe the most boring game I've ever seen on a Sky Sports Super Sunday in my life. Can't they do something? Sorry to do this, to say this, and Graham, you might want to join at the end, but I get it. They want clubs to do well in European football, in European competition. But for me, there's still nothing bigger than the big British games in the Premier League on a Sunday afternoon, as I've got the roast on, or just after a roast dinner at that 4 o'clock kickoff, having a day packed out of sport on a Sunday, of fantastic football. Can't they do something with this supercomputer of a fixture list to make sure that Man United, Spurs, even Newcastle, Chelsea, it is a romantic fixture in British football, which has had some incredible moments, to make sure that they sit on a Sunday and are televised. I'm fed up with the Manchester derbies at 12:30 on a Saturday. Nonsense.
Yeah, I see.
Maybe I'm too passionate about this, bro. I'm too passionate about my roast dinner.
No, Leeds were a good watch last, and do you know what? Newcastle, if Norwich Leeds at the start of the season, you thought, yeah, do you know what? That'll be a good game, Matt. I think on paper, but Norwich have been hugely disappointing. Yeah, they're always favourites to go down, but I think the way they've gone about it this season has been really disappointing, particularly. Mm-hmm. And Leeds are a shadow of them for themselves, but that comes down to a lack of investment that they've done in the squad. But I think Bielsa's lack of a plan B has hurt them as well. So I think Leeds were desperate for the 3 points. I think with that fixture, it's just a bit unlucky as to how it happened. Obviously, then we had Villa West Ham, which was incredibly more one-sided than you could ever think of being.
Let me hit on that. Villa, awful. Mings dropped. Tuanzebe obviously dropped as well from a Manchester United point of view. He hasn't had it good at all the last 3 to 4 weeks there at Villa. What's going on for Dean Smith's side? Is it they've seen John Terry on the coaching staff that much?
Possibly. I still think Tuanzebe looks better than Lindelof, but hey, I think you look better than Lindelof, man.
Thank you.
You haven't seen it play. I don't care. He's still be better than Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. It's a strange one. Yeah, Dean. They're struggling to replace Grealish. It's a tough act to follow. Leon Bailey, when he gets back to fitness, Bundia, I think they'll be okay. I think it's just taking a bit of time. They were so solid at the back, weren't they? With Konza and Mings last season. Mings has had an awful start to the season. For me, he hasn't got going yet. They've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league. It's a strange one, Philly. Yeah, they're just not quite hitting. They remind me a bit of Leicester at the moment. It's all there, but not quite hitting it. But I think they have to keep faith with him. I think he's got a plan. He knows how he wants to play, and I wouldn't be too worried by Villa. And I think they'll stick with him. I think he's doing a good job at having a bad run. That's for sure.
What about the? I'll tell you what. The most entertaining part of that game, to be fair, for the neutral, was the double VAR for checking two possible red cards, Horse and Consa. Consa in the end got his marching orders. Look, maybe we should also bring in Palace against City here as well with the Port's red card too. For you, both reds, and just quickly hitting on the Horse challenge. I thought he was very lucky as well.
Yeah, it's a strange one. There's a VAR instance at Newcastle actually where Hayden went into Christensen, it was, and they didn't even check it actually. Newcastle fans were furious with the manager for numerous things during the game, which they probably had a fair shout at. But yeah, that didn't even get checked in that game. Yeah, it's one of those. I don't once to check it on VAR. It's a tough one, isn't it? Hawes, yeah, I could see them. I won't have too many complaints. I think the biggest complaint, as you alluded to there the weekend, though, was City. How how they could predict that to be a goal scoring opportunity from where it was, I think was incredibly harsh.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly harsh. It was a foul. It will go back 5 years where he was last man. If we were playing those rules, it was a red card. But under the current rules, I was amazed that he got the red, to be honest.
Again, they mentioned this in comms,
especially when you have to consider Kyle Walker's there. Unless a player has a 20-meter start, Kyle Walker's going to catch him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that's the thing as well. You've got to take circumstance into your decision making there as well, and you've got to have been able to watch City and watch the game to know Kyle Walker's pace. You know who's on the recovery, Emerson, how quickly he comes out of goal, etc., to determine whether that's a goal scoring opportunity or not. For me, that was confusing in the was it Conte send off? Was it Conte? Yeah. It is. They were saying this in comms, and I do sort of agree with this. If that's given, but again, it's circumstance. Anywhere else on the pitch, you're not sending him off for that. But then you've got to also have a look at, well, the ball. Where's the ball going? What speed's that being played at? And it's just one of those rules where should VAR be used for a challenge like that? I mean, is it a clear and obvious error to not send him off?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I've always thought VAR should be more for black and white decisions, and it's always enjoyable having a bit of human error. But yeah, there's a bit. And it's one where we've been a little bit more flexible VAR, which they used so successfully in the Euros. I still think there's some tweaking to be done. It's been much better this season, but yeah, it's always going to be tough when it comes down to human opinion, and so you're going to get human error when it comes to that.
I think we could sit here all day waxing lyrical about the job Moyes is doing at West Ham and how well they're playing, but I expect them to win at the weekend again. And we will talk about West Ham on the show next week if you're about. Let's move on to Palace, because I think that's the shock result of the weekend, and really, really well deserved as well. Even 11v11. Patrick Vieira is just getting it right, isn't he, with Palace?
Yeah, and as I spoke about before, Conor Gallagher, we can't underestimate that he is. He's probably signing of the season at the moment. It'll be a huge shock for me if he's not in the next England squad. Well, he should be. Gareth Southgate likes to make a few surprises, but Gallagher should be in there for me. He's one of the informed players in the Premier League. It's worrying for us, the top three, that he's going to go back to Chelsea along with Billy Gilmore as well, who I think will recover from his Norwich struggles as well. But I can see him and Mount in that Chelsea midfield is really mouth-watering for their point of view, and he's been brilliant. Whenever you see him, he's full of running, but he's up and down. He's defending. He's so clued up, and you can see that going back to Leeds, they thought they had him in the summer before Palace came in, and now you can see why they were so disappointed not to get him in the summer, because he's going to improve just about more than 3/4 of the Premier League if he was in their team. You can see why so many wanted him. And yeah, but Elton Edwards doing fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Michael Olise, who's come in and off the bench, and and Zaha looks as if he's dialed in now, and even defence. Yeah, the whole James McArthur, he's a real unsung hero for Palace. He's in there every week as captain. But yeah, fair play to Patrick Vieira. I didn't see him changing the style of play and changing everything this soon, but he's got the squad he wants at the moment, and he's earning every plaudit he gets at the minute. It was an appointment which I questioned at the time. I thought he was a bit lucky to get the job, and so what if he's lucky? If he look, hey, Ollie's had 4 years at United after a lucky appointment, and if you can grab that opportunity with two hands, then fair play.
They're exciting to watch, and they're giving teams games. good games as well. And I think even if they're not getting a win and picking up points, at least they're doing so. They're not losing, and they look solid. I think another player you didn't hit on. I really don't know how to say his name, but again, the Chelsea effect, but obviously signed on a permanent deal. Is it Gui? The centre back.
Yeah, very good player. Yeah, he was doing well at Swansea. And yeah, they've added pace. Obviously, they moved on from like Cahill, etc. And obviously, he's gone for youth. He's gone for pace. He's gone for youngsters. And yeah, they are troubling teams where they play them. They're in every game, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. The Canyon Hoppers jumped in. United can hijack Ronaldo from City. Why not Conte for Spurs? Maybe they're not looking to change yet. As Graham said earlier on, I'm convinced. Graham's convinced. I personally think that if United are going to change their manager, I think they want Poch. I think they want Pochettino, and that's the only man they can see them do the job. And I think they're a bit blindsided to look anywhere else. I think if Ollie can navigate somehow out of the next two with respect intact, I think. I think the run of form's bad, and again, this is a conversation for another time. And obviously, the Liverpool defeat, any manager deserves the sack off the back of the embarrassment of what that is. But if we're going to come out, if we can get a point at the weekend and we can beat Atalanta in the middle of the week, you come out the back of that and go, it's still only one defeat in something like, what is it, 6? 1 defeat in 6, 2 draws, 2 defeats in 6, 1 draw, and then 3 wins. So it's
a point against City. A point against City, Ben, is it?
I'd take us a point. I'd bite your hand off for a point against Graham. I'd give you anything for a point against City. Right.
So what, Ben? If City start with 9 men, I'd still back them to win.
Yeah. I mean, so would most people with common sense, but I've not got common sense. I've got blinkers. Let's move on from that. Let's move on to two quite interesting games actually. Leicester, Arsenal. Let's start there. You made a comment about Leicester earlier on in terms that they've got all the foundations there, but it's just not quite clicking. You said the same about about Villa. So for you, poor start for Leicester is what more or less hurt them in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, Leicester just can't quite. It's just not quite getting there for them. I have no worries about them. I think, but I think this with that team he's got now in the squad, Rodgers should be aiming for top 4, and I think. Again, there's so many teams doing Ollie a favour, from the likes of Arsenal, Leicester, Tottenham, where they're not really biting at his heels. He's only got West Ham biting at his heels for top 4 at the moment, and yeah, I didn't see that coming. But Arsenal, he seems to have stumbled on a bit of a shape now, where he's brought Lacazette back in, who's brought a real embodiment, a real passion there. Even though he's going in the season, Aubameyang's playing a bit, Smith Rowe, and it's strange that Odegaard's not involved at the minute. But. They're getting there. I'm still not overly impressed by Arsenal. I think they're similar to United, where the calibre of player they've got is to such an extent that you will beat some teams, you will get results because they have some very, very good players. Saka and Smith Rowe are 2 of the best young players in world football, really. And so if you're going to play them, you're going to get something out of them. But yeah, fair play to them, fair play to Arteta. It's a very good result there. But Leicester, yeah, they keep getting those wins, and you think right now Leicester are going to go on the run and they keep tripping up. But yeah, it was a strange one. I didn't see that coming, but a fair play to Arteta. Leicester, yeah, it just didn't quite go for them on the day.
What about Ramsdale? What a couple of saves he made towards the end, especially in the second half.
Yeah, he's playing really well. I've always liked him when Sheffield United days, Bournemouth, and then back to Bournemouth. He's a good keeper. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon and saying he has to be England's number 1. I don't particularly think that. I'm not Jordan Pickford's biggest fan, but he's never let England down. So I don't see why Southgate would drop him or why he would drop him, because Southgate is a very loyal character. Anyway, so yeah, but it's nice to see another young English goalkeeper for the future. Anyway, but yeah, I did question Arsenal's buying of him, not so much buying, but the extent, and obviously Bernd Leno was okay, but yeah, he seems to improve them. He's given them a bit more confidence. So fair play to Arsenal for that. Yeah, he'll be key for them going forward.
Interesting game tonight, Everton-Wolves. We'll wait and see the outcome of that a bit later on. But the final game for us to talk about. And by the way, both teams got it all to play for. 3 points put them level on points with the teams in 4th place at the moment. So Everton-Wolves and Wolves. Some people saying they had a very poor start to the season, but it
shows where the Premier League is at the moment, where everyone's almost helping each other out. It's like Everton and Wolves. If you say that, you think, yeah, Wolves had a good start. Everton really tripped up. hammered off Watford last time out, and they're still within touching distance of fourth.
Do you know what confuses me as well? Best league in the world, best standards in the world, but you wouldn't say it's necessarily because all these teams are setting the world alight. It's actually other teams playing quite poorly and inconsistency within the form. That it's sort of
it's the best league in the world, Ben, because the top three teams who are light years ahead of the rest of the league, and they are top three teams are. If you named the best 5 teams in Europe at the minute, them top 3 would be in it.
Sorry, maybe the wording should be most competitive league in the world.
But it's a great league because those top 3, as I said, we couldn't, if we were putting our mortgages on it, we couldn't pick the title winner now.
I wouldn't put my mortgage on it, but I know I think he's going to win it. Who do you think, Graham? Who do you think is going to win it?
I picked Chelsea at the start, not in heart, but purely for the Lukaku situation where they've improved so much. Liverpool. I think I had City second, Liverpool third at the time, but no, it would be without any confidence whatsoever. I would say Chelsea. If City won, I could see it. If Liverpool won, I could see it. I could see any 3, and that's what makes it exciting. I think it's going to be a wonderful run into the season because I don't see where the let up is coming there. I think Chelsea have learnt the lesson from that City defeat. Chelsea are not going to drop many points now, which I think is great because then Liverpool and City are like, yeah, we've got to win all these games. We can't be dropping any more points now. So I think the way it's mapping itself out now, Ben, I think it's great for the Premier League because Chelsea are going to keep this pace up. They're not going to concede many goals. So the other 2 have to keep playing their football and winning each game.
I've got a wager on with a family member, and I don't know why I've done it. It mainly because I at the start of the season, everyone was sort of was talking about Liverpool like they weren't there. And I remember some Gary Neville comments that were just like, "Oh, they're winning games, but it's not like Liverpool, like and all this and that." And I actually thought they're going about their job really well. To the point that I put a little bet on that I think they'll win the league by 10 or more points, which is quite a wide stretch when you think about it, and a very brave bet. Putting in mind, I don't want Liverpool to win the league, but just something told me to do it. And they let me down yesterday. I thought they beat Brighton, but to be fair to Brighton, and I think this shows Graham Potter, his learning and how much he's improving all the time as a manager of a Premier League side. His team went 2-0 down. He didn't let their heads dropped. He changed it up slightly in terms of what he demanded and how they played the game. And they come out with a point from Anfield. Fantastic result for Brighton.
It was. And I said that the drop points for Liverpool and City this weekend, I think will do the Premier League a lot of good because they are really in chase mode now. I think City and Liverpool in chase mode is a wonderful sight to see, and I do pity the clubs who are going to face Liverpool and Man City in the coming weeks. Unfortunately for you, Ben.
Do you know what I do just want to say about Brighton as well? I think Brighton are one of those clubs that keep surprising us all. But I think if anyone gets the opportunity to watch the game back in full,
it's good recruitment, Ben. It's good recruitment. That's why Watford can keep changing their manager like they do. But Brighton is like, look at their recruitment in the background. All the loan players they've got sent out. The one thing every football club needs is good recruitment. And I say this over and over again. As a transfer cost about 90 minutes, I'm doing a series of interviews with recruitment guys. A club doesn't have good recruitment. Doesn't matter who your manager is, it won't work.
I agree. I 100% agree. Interesting times, interesting league, a weekend packed full of action. We've had a sacking as well. It looks like we're going to get a couple of new managerial appointments as well with Newcastle on the hunt. And by the looks of it, Di Marzio tweeting out Conte's in London, and it looks like contracts will be finalised this afternoon. So Simon Jordan, I heard him on TalkSport this morning saying that he doesn't think there's a hope in hell's chance.
Well, they're talking. Paratici's very close to him, Ben, the managing director. I know that Conte's agreed to speak to Tottenham, which has given him hope. I know that Paratici said to leave it, that he thinks he can get him. So, because remember, he was quite close in the summer as well. So he's agreed. But he's agreed to talk. It's strange that he comes in now 3 months later. But yeah, it'll freshen things up in the capital. That's for sure.
100%. An interesting weekend next weekend coming up. I can't wait to talk about that. I can't wait for the Manchester derby next Saturday. Then it's the damn international November break, which is always a pain in the arse at this point. But there we go. This is our third international break, isn't it?
Yeah, they're coming thick and fast. But remember, we've got to fit all these qualifiers in before the World Cup, which is the World Cup break is coming probably almost 12 months from today, around about that time. And so we have to, and the Premier League starting a little bit early as well. So all these international breaks, I think there's at least two more than we normally would, purely because the players this time next year will be flying off for the World Cup, which is very strange.
It doesn't sit right, does it? It feels really odd. This.
No, my birthday is in December. I never thought I would have and there's going to be games played on my birthday in early December, which I never ever thought would happen.
It's mental, isn't it? Mental. Graham, thank you for taking the time out and joining me. Really, really good to chat with you again. We will be back with a weekend review next Monday from 1. That's the next Monday from 1. And tonight at 6 o'clock, we're going to be joined by Mr. Mujak. Tony's going to be jumping on to chat about the academy and what any potential managerial change at Manchester United could impact on the academy. It's going to be a really interesting watch. That it's the Red Roundup where we chat about the under-23s, the academy, and also the women's team, everything but the first team. So join us for that at 6 o'clock. Connor and Benny on that one. Graham, thanks again, guys. Go and follow Graham Bailey on Twitter. You can go and check out his at All for United. We've put it up there now. For now, guys, that's the weekend review done. Thank you for joining us. We'll speak to you soon. Ciao for now.